All right, now let's dive into this kit. Let's dive into these cups. So first things first, in front of me, I have the roast level. So RO1 and RO2, processing, PR1 and PR2. Now on the roast comparison, I've got two Peruvian coffees here. The lighter roast just has a real sweet cocoa aspect to it. The darker roast just has a real roasty, dark, maybe bitter chocolate character on the fragrance. Moving right along with the processing, we've got two Ethiopians. So a washed Ethiopian, which has a very herbal, light sweetness to it. And then a natural dry processed Ethiopian, which has this kind of creamy, fruity fragrance to it. Really looking forward to drinking these and comparing them. Next step, we have grading 1 and 2 and species 1 and 2. So on the grade, we have specialty. This is a specialty Colombian double washed, and it just has this apple sweetness that jumps off. While the commercial grade coffee is actually a Liberica, and it has a very earthy character to it. So something is earthy about it, pungent. And so comparing these two, specialty versus commercial, and then species, Arabica and Robusta Canephora. So the Arabica is a Brazil Pulp natural for this kit. It's just really nutty and sweet. And then the Vietnamese Robusta just kind of has this grain-like, this brown grain character to it. So I'm gonna get some water on these. I'll taste the fragrance, body characteristic, aftertaste, and just summarize real quick. So you can see what's inside of this sensory kit for the September kit. If you get one of these, or if you've already purchased one, I hope this video helps. Reach out anytime. I'm happy to talk about your cupping experience, or if you get a future tasting kit, let's talk about your cupping experience. All right, time to dive in and drink these. And here we go. All right, time for the break. So just smelling across these coffees, they are very similar in character to where they were before. So over here, I've got grade, specialty, and commercial. Yeah, that double wash Colombia is still really bright, really sweet. Liberica is even more pungent, more earthy than ever before. This is the Peruvian roast level, lighter roast, darker roast. One of our characteristics that we describe is roasty. And so not roasty, roasty. It's pretty clear on that. Over here we have processing, so washed versus natural. Yeah, that herbal sweetness, really, you know, herbal is like flowers and vegetables like mint and spices. Really fruity sweet on the dry natural process. And then on the end, we have the specialty versus commercial. So Brazil Arabica Pulp natural versus Vietnam Robusta. Brazil grows a lot of Robusta, so I can't just say Brazil versus Robusta. It could be Brazilian Robusta, Brazilian Arabica. So cleaning these coffees, again, you can brew these coffees if you have a brewer. You know, just make sure that you brew them consistently. 2 French presses side by side, 2 pour overs side by side, 2 AeroPress. Following the same brew methods, you'll get similar cupping results. And that's really what we want here. Similar roasting, similar sourcing, similar roasting dates, similar roasting machine. So you're getting everything, or at least each pair, from the same company, the same roaster. And then you want to brew them consistently. That Colombia is really acidic, really bright, really sweet. The Liberica commercial grade is not sweet. It's not acidic. It tastes like coffee. Creamy, thick body, but you know, it doesn't have that sweetness and acidity which just characterize specialty coffee. So if you want to really find the difference between commercial and specialty coffee, you're going to be looking for one, defects. I can smell that the Liberica has a lot of defects. You can see them in the roasted beans. But two, most importantly, is that sweetness, that acidity, that cleanness in the cup. Now these roast levels, I intentionally don't go super light and super dark. I think that's pretty easy for everyone. But when you're consistently cupping coffees and tasting coffees, you do want to see how they change. And you want to know how the same bean can experience different qualities at different roast levels. You know, that lighter roast has a pretty light body, but it has the sweetness and acidity that you want from a lighter roast. And this darker roast just is a lot thicker. It has a lot more of that body. But the acidity has really gone down. It's bitter, but it's still smooth. You know, it's not burnt tasting. You don't have that acidity. You have more body, less acidity. Both of them are sweet. Here are the processing. So wet washed Ethiopia versus a dry natural Ethiopia. Kind of got to take a couple of these, jumping from a dark roasted Peruvian to a light roasted Ethiopian. You're going to feel it on the second or third drink more than the first. Yeah, just really clean, floral, light. You know, it reminds me of like green grapes and juice, like grape juice. A lot more body, a lot thicker, creamier, syrupy, sweet. A little bit of acidity, but characterized by body and sweetness, as opposed to this one, which is characterized by this juicy tea-like sweet vibrancy, right? So a washed, vibrant, sweet, juicy versus a syrupy, thick, not thick, but syrupy, sweet, dry natural process. And finally at the end, Brazil Arabica versus a Vietnam Robusta. That Brazil is just really sweet and nutty. That Robusta is really bitter. It's not a bad bitterness, but it's like that double caffeine is just very clearly coming out. It's not roasted super dark, so it's not a dark roasted kind of bitterness, but it is a coffee bitterness. It's a caffeine bitterness. It's very nutty, very big body, round, mouth filling, more chewy. Like the natural process Ethiopian is more syrupy. This Robusta Vietnamese coffee is more almost chunky and chewy. You know, it's like thick and maybe more rough on my mouth. But very grainy, meaning like roasted grain, barley, corn nuts. I don't mind Robusta. Don't be afraid of Robusta as long as it's clean. You don't want to be drinking defects. But yeah, that Brazil is just so sweet next to it. The Brazil is lighter. It's lighter in body. And just like these cupping bowls tell you, I only use 10 grams of coffee in that Robusta as opposed to 11 grams of coffee in the Brazil. So even with 10% more coffee, that Brazil still has less body than that Robusta. If you found this helpful, or if you'd like to try these September sensory tasting kits, jump online. They're going to go really fast. We'll get those roasted and shipped out to you fresh. And then pay attention to the next upcoming kits. We're always rotating coffees, but in every kit, the goal is to provide you focused, a clear comparison between grades, specialty and commercial, processing methods, washed versus natural, roast levels, lighter versus darker, and species, Arabica versus Robusta. I'm Adam, and this is for SCA.training, How To Coffee Pro. If you found this helpful, or if you're interested in cupping, developing your cupping skills, sensory skills, growing in coffee, making life better using coffee. I can't wait to hear from you. Please add a comment, reach out to me, and I'll see you in the next video.